Hello, YouTubes! Today I'm talking about quantum consciousness, and I'll be going over 10 research papers that discuss this topic. The study of consciousness has moved beyond just philosophy and neuroscience, venturing into quantum mechanics, space-time geometry, and fundamental physics. Theories now explore whether cognition arises from quantum wave function collapse, electromagnetic resonance, or even the fabric of spacetime itself. This multidisciplinary approach seeks to explain the connection between mind and matter, explore consciousness as a fundamental force, and test whether thought interacts with quantum fields. The following summaries highlight key research papers that bring us closer to understanding how consciousness operates at the quantum level and the implications for reality. Paper 1 is a quantum theory of consciousness. Oh, and by the way, I have all of the bibliography and citations for this down below if you want to check out any one of these papers. They're all in the channel bibliography, which I have written down below and linked in the channel bio. First paper is a quantum theory of consciousness. This paper explores quantum collapse as the key driver of consciousness, proposing that awareness is not an emergent property of the brain, but a fundamental force interacting with physical matter. The research suggests that quantum processes in the brain differ from classical computation. Consciousness influences physical events through non-local effects. One implication of this theory is that consciousness exists as a fundamental property of matter, reinforcing the idea that the universe is intrinsically aware. Everything in the universe is the observer. The study also proposes that this perspective could explain psi phenomena and non-local cognition, suggesting that mind and matter are deeply entangled at the quantum level. Second paper, consciousness events as orchestrated space-time selections, or ORC. Penrose and Hamerhoff, who you will probably hear a lot about, they're relatively controversial, but they do have some good papers out there, and as more of it starts to get proven, I do like including them. There's also another research paper where one of Penrose's ideas was just proven, and it relates back to Einstein and relativity and us seeing reverse spin at great distances. Anyway, I'll do that one later because it's really fun too. Anyway, Penrose and Hamerhoff's orchestrated objective reduction, ORC, model posits that consciousness emerges from a quantum state collapse occurring in the microtubules of neurons. These collapses correspond to discrete moments of consciousness, forming a stream of awareness that is not computational, but tied to the fundamental structure of space-time. The study argues that quantum coherence in microtubules persists long enough to influence cognition, suggesting that consciousness is linked to the geometry of the universe itself. The researchers propose that each moment of awareness represents a self-selection of space-time geometry, an instantaneous quantum event shaping perception and reality. Third paper is Consciousness and the Quantum Measurement Problem. This research examines how quantum mechanics challenges classical views of consciousness. One interpretation suggests that the act of observation itself collapses the wave function, implying that consciousness determines reality at a fundamental level. Empirical tests, including Braveway activity measurement, attempt to determine whether the observer effect applies to human cognition, and preliminary results indicate that conscious states do influence quantum measurement, reinforcing the idea that mind and matter are interwoven at a quantum level. Number 4. Consciousness as a basic frequency of quantum space. This paper introduces the idea that consciousness is not a byproduct of neural computation, but a fundamental frequency embedded in quantum space. Researchers propose that thought functions as an organized oscillation, a wave pattern that aligns with the geometry of reality itself. The study argues that evolution selects for organisms that better resonate with these fundamental frequencies, implying that cognition and intelligence are not isolated phenomena, but direct interactions within the larger quantum field. And 5, consciousness and quantum physics, the empirical studies. Hold on just a second, let me see. I already have them in alphabetical order. Okay. Consciousness and quantum physics. Empirical research attempts to determine whether quantum physics played a role in consciousness by testing subjects' brain responses to quantum measurement. One experiment recorded auditory evoked potentials, AEPs, in participants observing quantum events, revealing differences in brain activity based on whether a quantum state was measured before or during observation. These findings suggest that consciousness may not be passive, but an active participant in quantum interactions, supporting, once again, that thought directly engages with reality at a fundamental level. 6. The brain and space-time geometry. This paper expands on the auric ore, proposing that consciousness is directly tied to the fabric of space-time itself. The researchers argue that each moment of awareness represents a quantum collapse event occurring within the geometry of reality. Their model suggests that cognition influences the shape of space-time, meaning that thought itself could alter reality at a fundamental level. If correct, this could explain why subjective experiences feel continuous despite quantum discreteness, hinting at a larger universal structure that governs awareness. 7. A connectionist perspective on consciousness. This research explores a computational model of consciousness comparing classical neural networks with quantum-inspired models. While traditional neuroscience suggests that thought emerges from neural activations, the study highlights the limitations of classical processing in explaining subjective awareness. The authors propose that connectionist models must incorporate quantum principles to fully explain cognition, arguing that parallel distributed processing in the brain may mirror quantum superposition and entanglement. 8. 1,000 points of light, self-organization in a conscious universe. This paper introduces a cosmological model of consciousness, proposing that the universe itself is intrinsically aware and self-organizing. Using principles of cavity quantum electrodynamics and 12D topological field theory, the study suggests that the electromagnetic waves, biophotons, and quantum coherence govern conscious experience. The authors argue that consciousness couples to biological structure through microtubules and other quantum active systems, presenting a unifying theory that links cosmic order, self-organization, and neural activity. Number 9. Consciousness beyond time constraints. This research suggests that consciousness operates beyond standard time perception, aligning with quantum non-locality. The authors propose that awareness is not bound by linear time, but functions as a field effect, interacting with future and past states in ways that defy classical causality. Their findings support the hypothesis that cognition is not a sequential process, but an emergent phenomenon arising from quantum field interactions. Number 10. This paper represents a unified model of consciousness, merging quantum theory, space-time geometry, and neural processing. The researchers argue that though this is not simply neural computation, but a field-based interaction with quantum reality. By integrating gravitomagnetism, quantum wave function collapse, and microtubular quantum states, the study suggests that consciousness is embedded within fundamental forces shaping existence. So, there are 10 awesome papers on quantum mechanics and consciousness, each of these contributing to a larger picture of consciousness as a fundamental aspect of reality, whether through quantum wave function collapse, resonant with fundamental frequencies, or space-time interactions. The evidence suggests that awareness extends beyond neural activity and into the very structure of the universe. The implications reach far beyond science. They challenge the way that we perceive time, reality, and existence itself. If thought interacts with quantum fields, then the boundaries between these, physics, cognition, and the cosmos, are just illusions waiting to be rewritten. What's the next step? Experimental verification, deeper integration of quantum models, and a paradigm shift in how we define mind, matter, and the very fabric of reality itself. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode for today, but I will see you next time. Check out those 10 papers in the channel bio so that you can get more information on quantum consciousness from a scientific perspective. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will keep making more videos on quantum consciousness and the science supporting this hypothesis. Thanks for joining me.